So this next book I want to go over was by your friendly neighborhood mobster. This is a book named "I'll Make You an Offer You Can't Refuse" by Michael Franzese. And the reason I said that it's by your friendly neighborhood mobster is the way he talks about it in himself in it. You'd think he's ready for sainthood, really. So basically, in this book, it's supposed to be a business book about how business and the mafia teaches you how to do business normally, and I think kind of that they have a lot more available to them maybe than the average person. It's a lot easier, what they say, to get farther with a kind word and a gun than you do just a kind word. But seriously, so basically, this book is a lot of comparison to King Solomon's parables, and then obviously The Prince by Machiavelli. And basically, he's basically saying you need to be like Solomon, always do the right thing, and always do the right thing by people, and that'll give you business, and that's how you be successful in business, and not like Machiavelli. I disagree with that, obviously. I disagree with his comparisons of Machiavelli. He talks about Machiavelli. He talks about how he had chickens that he bought from another gangster, and that they were bad, and so he did the right thing and gave the girl her money back, so that she didn't, and that he kept her as a customer. She didn't go bad, and he says that's like Solomon doing the right thing. I could argue that might be Machiavelli, because no matter what you do, you always want to be, per Machiavelli, perceived as good by the people. So is that doing the right thing, or is that wanting to be perceived good by the people so that you don't lose business? You could argue both ways. And then he argues how he went back to that other gangster and tried to get his money back, and they were kind of like, no, and you're going to pay us in full. And he said that's Machiavellian. I could disagree that that's not Machiavellian, because you always want to be perceived as good, right? You don't want to be perceived as cruel, or else you won't last. And so I think that maybe that's just a dick, maybe. Now, I don't know that that's technically Machiavellian, but I think he does definitely over exaggerates Machiavelli as evil in this book, and then definitely he talks about always being like King Solomon, being the honest person, and doing the right thing, and basically over and over again, basically how he does that, and how he believes that's better to be like. To live a life like Solomon. So you have your ideals, maybe not make as much money, but you have your ideals, as opposed to Machiavelli, which it's about bettering yourself. That would be his argument. And it's easy to say that in hindsight. I think sometimes you do need Machiavelli in business to navigate waters that aren't great or aren't always friendly. You can't always be the honest man. Absolutely. Sometimes that might be led to being taken advantage of. Basically, in this book, it makes him sound, I feel like he tries to make him sound like the most honorable person in the world. He even talks about after he got out of prison, he had a lot of failed business ventures and thought maybe his only good business venture was one-hit wonder. I don't know that you would call stealing gas money from the government a one-hit wonder in business. You were a thief. You stole money. Your business was stealing tax money. So I don't know that that's successful business. I mean, you could say maybe you ran it like a business, but then he couldn't make money. He couldn't really find a good business until he obviously started talking about his time in the mob and being a Christian. So I don't know if that's even if that's really a business. That's just talking about your experience, I guess. But yeah, so a lot of these stories, I don't know if anyone listens to his YouTube channel, but a lot of these stories are the same a lot of these stories are basically his stories that are from his YouTube channel, and basically, like I said, makes him trying to sound like a good guy, an honorable guy, trying to always do the right thing. That's why I started it off by saying your friendly neighborhood mobster, because that's what he sounds like in this book. He really just makes himself sound like a very honest, well-to-do guy, and he always tells you always be like Solomon, don't be like Machiavelli, which is rich words coming from a gangster, right? An ex-gangster, but still rich words coming from a gangster who made probably most of his fortune and most of the money today is talking about being a gangster. So I would say that he made most of his money being a gangster. So it's nice to feel guilty about it now, I guess, and talk about always being good when you made your money, being dishonest for all sorts and giggles. But I do see his point to always be Machiavellian. I mean, to always be like King Solomon, and in your personal life, absolutely, you always want to be the best person you can be. Even in business, you want to be, especially if you're running a mom and pop store in a small community, you really can't afford to get a bad reputation. You always in a mom and pops, I would say this, working like King Solomon is a great way to do it because it's a small town. You need a great reputation, and always, you treat people like their family, like King Solomon. Always do the right by them, and you're gonna always get that business. I'd say probably bigger companies, more expansive things, and he talks about this in this book, how other companies do think more like Machiavelli, and to a certain extent, you might have to, right? Because not all every culture is the same, right? Whether you're in the north, the south, the west, a different country, not every culture is the same. So you do always want to be perceived as good in those cultures, but you also have to do things differently. You have to make deals, right? You can't always let everyone know what you know, right? So in those words, I think Machiavelli does help on a bigger scale, right? A bigger scale company. But in a small company, absolutely you want to be like King Solomon. You want to always do the right thing, treat everyone like family, because if you don't, and there's not a lot of customer base, right there. A reputation goes everywhere in a small community, so you have to be like King Solomon. It's the only way to go. If you're a cheat, you're gonna get less businesses. And I'm not talking about business as being a cheat, but sometimes, like Machiavelli says, you have to play the game a little bit to get through. And I think that's a way to do it on a bigger to scale, on a more macro level. But in the micro level, you want to be like Solomon, absolutely. But again, basically in this book, it was almost I felt it comical to kind of make it sound like he did everything the right way, and he was just a great businessman, and he always did everything right, and that's why everyone liked him, not because he was a tough gangster, and if they didn't do it, there was consequences, but he was just an honorable guy and good to everyone, and that's why everyone loved him. So I found it kind of a comical book, tough read. I thought it would be more about business as opposed to it was with business interactions. But I thought a lot of it there was a lot of maybe I felt it was maybe misconstrued out of reality, that he was just a great guy and always tried to do the right thing and this, that, and the other thing. So that was my review of it. Again, I thought he took it to extremes, the way he compared Solomon and Machiavelli. I understand where he's coming from with Solomon, but I think he demonized Machiavelli's teachings. I thought he made it look more evil, like Machiavelli was pure evil as opposed to able to navigate through different waters. I think he made him look like just pure evil, and I think he really over dramatized it for the book. And so I think the comparisons were maybe not accurate because it was over dramatized for the book. But you got to do what you got to do to sell a book. So that was my take on it. If you disagree with me, let me know. Or if you agree with me, let me know. Thank you.